Rahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. So we are group 4 and we are presenting on the policy pentaksiran berasaskan sekolah, also known as PBS. Next. These are our group members. Muhammad Faisal, Lokman Hakim, Muhammad SUFFRI AIMAN, Muhammad HAZIQ Iskandar and Muhammad Syafiq AIMAN. So to further explain regarding our policy, we will first introduce the policy, and then the policy problem, the objectives of the policy, the strategies of the policy, policy evaluation, and also recommendations.
So the introduction of PBS, which is Pentaksiran Berasaskan Sekolah, or another name is School-Based Assessment, was introduced by Malaysia's Ministry of Education in 2011 to reduce the reliance on centralized high-stakes exams. The system aims to provide a more holistic assessment of students by continuously evaluating both their academic and also non-academic development. PBS covers a range of areas from academic skills and knowledge to personal growth, social abilities, and also the moral values. The approach supports a well-rounded view of student progress, fostering a deeper understanding of each student's strengths and areas for improvement beyond the exam performance. Next.
Okay, next is the policy problem. The first point is the overemphasis on exam. The old system, focus a lot of this big exam like UPSR and SPM. This put a lot of pressure on both student and teacher to do well in just one exam. Because of this, student often miss out of learning important skill beyond just test preparation. The Malaysian Ministry of Education found the because of this high stakes exam, students focus mostly on getting good score rather than learning more broadly. 2011 report showed that 17 until 18% of teaching time was spent preparing for this exam. The second point is limited scope, limited assessment scope. Standardized exam mostly measure academic performance, especially memorization. This means that important skills like critical thinking, creativity, communication, and practical ability were often left out. The UNESCO study on Malaysia education system showed that focusing so much on exam limited the chance to access other talents. The third point is a one-size-fits-all approach. The old system treat all students the same without considering their different learning style, ability, and interest. This makes it hard for students with different strength to success. The Malaysia Education Blueprint found that the exam system didn't consider diverse student ability. Studies show that why some students might struggle, why some students might struggle with exam, they could excel in areas like sport or creative activity which were not properly recognized. Next slide is teacher-centered learning. Because of the focus on the exam, teacher often becomes more about preparing students to pass the test. This limited chance for more interactive or student-centered learning. A study by Hamidah Yusof found that teachers felt pressure to teach to test to help students get high score on standardized exam. This makes it harder for a teacher to use creative and innovative teaching method. Fifth point is neglect of formative learning. The oral system didn't use enough ongoing assessment to track student progress and help them improve over time. This left gap in supporting their continuous development. Report from Performance Management and Delivery Unit Permando show that Malaysia education system lack of ongoing assessment practice. Teachers spend more time preparing students for exam than monitoring their progress and development. I will pass to next presenter.
Okay, so there are four objectives of pentadbiran berasaskan sekolah. First of all is to improve the significance of evaluation by shifting the emphasis to students' progress and advancement in learning rather than just their scores or grades. Second is to lessen the excessive dependence on data from centralized exams like grades and scores for gathering the information about the students in the education system. The third one is to enable the school and teachers to carry out high quality assessment with the participation of their students. As a result, school assessment will receive the recognition and acknowledgement it deserves, holding an important position within the assessment system as a whole. And last but not least is the incorporating standard reference assessment in PBS is aimed at warranting the students' performance aligns with the recognized global standards in knowledge, skills, and also competence across different areas. Next.
So for the strategies of the Pentaksiran Berasaskan Sekolah PBS, the first strategy is continuous assessment. Continuous assessment involves evaluating students throughout the academic year rather than relying solely on their final examination. This helps teachers identify and address individual learning needs in real time, supporting steady progress rather than last-minute exam cramming. So for example, in Malaysia schools, implementing continuous assessment, a teacher might use weekly quizzes, monthly projects, and reflective journals. This combination allows students to demonstrate knowledge consistently, which can reveal their knowledge patterns over time. For the second strategy, holistic assessment, this strategy evaluates not only academic achievement but also social, emotional, and physical skills, considering students as a whole individuals. So for example, a science project in holistic assessment model might require students to collaborate on a community environmental project. Through this task, students not only apply scientific concepts but also practice teamwork, problem solving, and communication. So for the third strategy, student involvement. Student involvement involves students in the assessment process, builds engagement, responsibility, and a sense of ownership. A method such as self-assessment, peer assessment, and setting personal learning goals empower students to actively manage their educational journey. So for example, after their quizzes, teachers should rate their students' performance based on their results. Also, PBS itself often encourage students to set personal goals at the start of the term. So a student might aim to improve their public speaking by volunteering for more in-class presentations. So this goal setting encourages self-reflection and self-improvement. So next is authentic assessment. Authentic assessment requires students to apply their knowledge in practical, real-world scenarios, fostering skills like problem solving and adaptability. For example, in a geography class, students might work on a project assessing the impact of local climate change by collecting data and analyzing it. So this assessment allows students to experience research skills directly, connecting classroom learning to environmental issues. So by doing this, students not only learn about scientific principles but also develop skills in research, critical thinking, and data analysis. So the last strategy is constructive feedback. Constructive feedback provides students with specific guidance on strengths and areas for improvement, promoting continuous learning and improvement. So for example, rather than just scoring an essay, a teacher might provide comments on thesis strength, argument structure, and grammar. So this feedback will surely help the student understand what to work on and give a clear path to improvement. So a teacher could point out to a student that they need to provide more evidence in their essays, helping them improve in future homework or also in their examination. So this kind of feedback encourages a growth mindset, allowing students to learn from their mistakes and view challenges as part of the learning processes. So next.
Next is policy evaluation. Today I would like to focus about the strength and also the weakness of this evaluation. So firstly, PBS provide a comprehensive assessment of student skill and beyond a traditional test. That means PBS doesn't rely on academic grades, but also access their personal growth, problem-solving abilities, and social skill. And it can be excelled by intellectually and emotionally. Secondly, it evaluates both academic and non-academic aspects, including abilities and personal growth. That means students are encouraged to take an action role on their education, which increases their motivation and help them engage deeply with the material and focusing on scores in PBS. So thirdly, PBS promote active involvement in, in learning and also diverse teaching method through project and continuous assessment. So student has support, PBS support student in developing the independence by encouraging them to explore on their own and make informed decision and take responsibility for their learning. So lastly, it fosters one-on-one interaction between teachers and students and offering talent support that achieves student performance. So through one-on-one interaction, teachers can offer the support to meet each student needs and reinforcing strengths and addressing for improvement, which is ultimately a change to the performance and confidence. So we remove to the weakness. Based on the weakness, instructor intellectually struggle with PBS due to insufficient resources and training for new assessment method. This means instructor facing difficulties adapting to PBS due to limited resources and inadequate training on their new assessment technique. Secondly, PBS increase paperwork and documentation, adding to instructor workload and stress. This means, as teacher, they had to track individual student progress and performance across various projects and activities. Thirdly, the change from traditional exam in PBS can cause confusion for parents and students that use exam-based assessment. So traditional method to PBS often left parents and students to uncertain about the new system. Those familiar with the standard exam-based evaluation and struggle to understand about this new method. So lastly, the early PBS online assessment platform face technical issue make it difficult for many schools, especially the school that lack of technological facilities. The online platform face technical issue and creating additional obstacle for school, especially those with limited technological resources. So I would like to remove to the next presenter.
Okay, next for the recommendations. The recommendation that we can give for the weakness for the teacher preparedness, the recommendation is comprehensive training programs. What is meant by these comprehensive training programs? The schools should organize should organize a seminar for teachers and educators for their continuous professional development. With these seminars, they focus on to emphasize the new methods and best practices in the PBS, and also to familiarize the teachers and the educators with PBS approach. They will familiarize the teachers about the new education changes, educational approaches that changes throughout the year. Next, for the weakness for administrative burden, the recommendation is simplified assessment tools.
the government should give the schools to their teachers to their educators and teachers and easy to use apps or digital tools. This will help the schools in record keeping and reporting process. With these easy to use apps or digital tools, it will help to automate certain aspects rather than manual or traditional way before this. Next, for the inconsistent implementation, the recommendation is standardized guidelines. The government should create a single set of guidelines. The guidelines stated that they specify the procedures, expectations, and bare minimum of resources to implement PBS. For example, in the guidelines stated that the minimum equipment or tools that the schools should have to implement the PBS approach. Oh, sorry. Okay, next, the fourth recommendation, parent-teacher workshops for the parental and student confusion. The parent-teacher workshops is where the schools organize frequent parent and student orientation workshops. For example, the schools can organize this workshop like once a month or once a month to stay up to date with the parents about their kid and their children performance in the schools. With these parent-teacher workshops, they discuss the advantages of PBS, evaluation procedures, and they also stated that grades represent the student performance. This is because to avoid any misunderstanding about the student performance, if the grades was not good. So next, for the technology and infrastructure, the recommendation is technical support and access to resources. Technical support is where schools should employ a specialized IT support staff. This because their work is to fix any technical issues that may happen in the future. So this pivotal step was an important for the schools to implement the PBS approach. Next, access to resources. Access to resources where the government should make certain that every schools in Malaysia has access to the computers, reliable internet, and online resources. Government also should look for low-tech alternative for schools with little funding. This is because if the government want to strongly apply for the PBS approach, they need to make sure all the schools have the equipment and the resources that the implementation of PBS to work in their schools. Next, the conclusion. The conclusion that we derive from this PBS pentaksiran berasaskan sekolah policy is a good policy that the government should continue, and the people and citizens of Malaysia should encourage for the continuous of this policy. It is because the PBS encourage well-rounded education beyond exam. This is a new way because Malaysia once was were a developed country, so they need to implement a new way. Next is the if this PBS foster essential skills, attitudes, and continuous growth. And lastly, PBS can become more effective with improvements with training, workload management, and technology support. If the parents and the citizens of Malaysia and also the teachers and educators support this PBS approach, PBS can become a successful policy that Malaysia will have. That's all from our group 4, about the pentadsiran berasaskan sekolah. Thank you.